Good morning, everybody, or late good afternoon here in Amsterdam. I'm George Tucker. This is Aviation. This is our wrap-up of ISE 2016 here at the final fourth day. I'm joined here by, of course, my compañero, Mr. Matt Scott. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
All right, day 4.
Yes.
Some people are saying it felt like 10 days, but what do you think?
Well, that's because they were here building the booth for 10 days.
Well, that's true.
That doesn't apply.
Yes.
No, it didn't. It didn't feel like 10 days. It felt like 4 days a lot of time.
Come on through and see if you have to stand. You want to?
But I like the 4 days.
Welcome, of course, Harry Mead. Mr. Harry
So
Mead.
you guys decided to start early without me? That's fine.
It's
Whatever.
not early. It's 2 minutes late.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, whatever.
Virginia's
shows
government time.
Shows you where you are in the world. But no. I like the 4-day show. It essentially gives people 3 full days of
Yeah.
work, and then potentially a day of visiting instead of 2 full days of work and potentially a day of visiting.
Yeah, I mean, I found that as well when we did the AV week for this, when we were talking to Adrian and Clive from Doe and from AV Magazine, that day 4 was sort of this roundup day.
Yeah.
I think Adrian was
Catch
really,
the last couple days you haven't seen.
and he was kind of digging the treasure hunt day. Like,
Yeah.
for press, find that one little tidbit, not 1 or 2 things.
Yes.
And transition to that, for me, I found a number of stuff, like there are a lot of short throw projectors around here.
Finally. Thank you.
And so I'll ask the question. I don't know if that's a needed thing all the way through North America or if it was just here, but it seems to be more short throw here than back home.
I definitely saw much more here than I've seen back home. I know for us, short throw has always been hard to find. Something that's either short enough or bright enough. And there was quite a few options here that I haven't seen previously that gave us that super short throw, large image size, very, very high both nit value and brightness level, lumen level, that got me excited.
Yeah. And what about you, Harry?
I like the 4 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rough. It's hard.
Yeah.
It takes a lot out of you, but somebody said that it's like having 2 middle days.
Yeah.
So that's kind of good that you can actually get and do the things that you might not be able to do. Because I mean, honestly, with these trade shows, first day you get your bearings.
Yep.
And you kind of hit the ground running if you plan it out really in advance. But otherwise, you're kind of getting your bearings the first day. You really hit your stride day 2 and keep on going. And then by Friday, everybody's wrapping up.
Yeah, and we were talking about like the treasure day, the tidbits. Something else I saw though here that we don't see at Infocom nearly enough, I think, are the architectural and overstyled products.
Right.
You and I were just flipping through on my iPad. There's the steel grid speakers. There's the ceramic speakers that have these beautiful architectural aesthetic.
Well, and is that, again, because we're in Europe, or is that because, is it the combination of us being in Europe plus the residential side where that aesthetic is paramount?
Well, I'm going to ask you guys. You go to CEDIA.
I do.
Does that show up at CEDIA?
It does to a degree. Again, we've heard this a couple of times out there that there's a large high-end market that is possibly not always served best at CEDIA. That there seemed to be a fair amount of that here, and those products are ones that fit that bill.
Yeah, I mean, again, beautiful ceramic blown glass, the steel fronts. I mean, it was just, there was one that was lighting and speakers. And I feel like in the States, we'd see this sort of speaker that was kind of a light. And it would almost look industrial.
Yes.
That neo-industrial.
Here it
was beautiful.
Yeah, it becomes an art piece, a statement piece that would go into the...
Even the Lutron. I was looking at the Lutron booth, and they had the guest home
Isn't it sexy
panels. Well, everything's flatter.
Yes.
And that's my thing. It's like it was smoother, flatter. It was not about taking up the space to be there. It was there to do a job, period.
Yes. Yeah, it becomes a little bit more... I'm not going to find the word. Utilitarian. Almost?
Yeah. At home. Yeah.
It's something where here there's a European sense of style that permeates through a lot of the booths, and especially in the high end side of things.
That's something that we I think that our clients would like. that we would. Well, let me ask you: do we think that back in the States that would sell to a number of clients, or is it too niche?
It's very, very niche. Even if you ask around to say like a B&O dealer, here there are a plethora of B&O dealers around in all major cities. Back home, they're in the major metros. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I know there's one in Miami, there's one in South Beach, there's one in New York, Atlanta, those kind of metros, but there's not one in Sarasota. Okay. Right? That I know of. There might be in Sarasota.
Right. Yeah, let's not get them angry at us.
No, by no means. I think it does. It's a niche though. It really is. That high end, that combination of design and practicality is always going to be a niche market. But I think here it's if I can use the word lusted, it's lusted after more here than it is back home.
It's sort of like when let's use the example, the French, don't want to take the food to go and eat on a park bench. They should give that little nose up to it, but to us it's normal and
exactly
it's what we do. All right, let me change gears a little bit. You are doing a lot of government work, right?
Yeah.
You were here at this show, so there's a huge commercial element. Anything that you have seen the last day or two that intrigued you that you may not have seen, or an update, or?
Really, the two big things were, and Matt probably covered it already, is that the Prism gear, software plus monitor, and the Shure new array mics.
Right. We'll talk about the Prism thing because I don't think we talked a lot about that.
We did on the other show.
On the AV Week. This is the wrap up. So
it's different.
It's a collaboration software, but it's more than that. It also you can call in from people from outside into it. They demonstrated
and they're
it.
not just calling into it. Right?
Yeah,
and I think that's the big differentiation factor. You're a part of it. Everything that's on the first, the person who's running that meeting or that collaboration space, that shows up on everyone else's device. It's every single piece
down to the phone.
Yeah,
where you had two somebodies running on cell service, not on Wi-Fi in the booth, but cell service, able to jack into the meeting and manipulate things on the 190-inch LED screen.
So let me ask about this, because this is something that I've been looking for and looking about, that we'll call it the millennials, but a growing portion of attendees to these huddle rooms and conferences don't want to look up there at the screen.
Yeah,
they want to look at their device, whether they're presenting or viewing.
This is the key for that.
And that's Prism. I know Blue Jean was looking to do something like that. They're not quite there yet, but they were chatting about it. There's a bunch of little companies that sort of said they were going to be able to push it out.
This is that one that I see to be leading the charge towards it, because everything gets synced to the cloud. Everything is constantly locally cached there. Every change you make, no matter what it is, whether you're annotating, whether you're adding a device, whether you're bringing in video, that all stays on that cloud, that meeting ID in the cloud, and stays there. So it doesn't matter if you're sitting there on your tablet looking at what's going on over there in the boardroom. You can be annotating here just as your CEO is annotating there.
Right, and storing it for yourself.
And storing it all there and having it all syncing back and forth to the cloud no matter where you are.
Basically, you could still collaborate, but be in your own little personal space.
Well, yeah, but I think that because it makes it more intimate, it makes it more personal. And I think that's sort of what we were talking about. Like somebody yesterday at dinner, I believe, was talking about how the one-on-one, so an open source codec thing that's happening, the software codecs, get my terminology right, made it more personal for people rather than just watching a show. They were at their own computer interviewing some NFL star or some basketball star and were able to ask him about things. And they felt more personal connection than, say, a reporter asking the questions for them or reading them off. And I think this might be the same thing.
It really is.
Is there an element, and I'll ask you, Harry, especially sort of for the government meetings, that would happen, but there would be some kind of audience response, no? Did this information make sense? Would you like us to go on further? Would that matter as an attention getter, are you paying attention reminder, or is that something that wouldn't really happen?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Well, you're watching it in a personal way. In order to make sure people are watching, you have sort of a test.
Well, I was going to say, but you've got, everybody has their bit that they've got up there. So they can be like each person can present in turn, basically. So it becomes more collaborative as opposed to presentation. It's not necessarily like beaming it out to everybody's unit. It's actually working together on things. Well, hey, I've got my screen up. Let me put my screen into the workspace and show you what I'm looking at for this idea.
So let me ask you this. Is it being driven by client desire for that, or because it's the next step and it's something to sell?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's client side in the aspect that for too long, collaboration means that we throw 2 documents on a flat panel from 2 different sources. And maybe if there's a touch overlay somewhere, you can do some basic annotation.
Or through WebEx, you're seeing it on WebEx. Yeah.
And that's not the same as sitting around a table with paper.
Yeah.
Which I think that's what we're really trying to obtain with all of these devices. We're trying to get back to literally a whiteboard with 3 people up there, or pieces of paper on a table. And that is so simple to sit there and draw on a design, pass it over to you, and have you sit there and say, you know what, I don't like this section. That's what we're trying to get to with thousands of dollars of technology to replicate what we used to do on paper. And I think this is the first one I've seen that actually replicates
it's pretty darn close.
My, $199 legal pad.
Interesting. All right.
And it's just all of this stuff is trying to replicate how humans actually interact.
Right.
I mean, because right now, granted we're streaming, but it's the 3 of us talking. And so,
even when we do, and we obviously do this all the time, even when we do a podcast, it's still not the same as us sitting here chatting.
Yeah.
No, this is true.
And I think that's no matter what part of technology you look at, we're trying to get back to this. We're trying to get back to that 1 meter ability to, get your inflection, get your tone, have, notice when Harry's just watching the beautiful pictures online.
Of the red light district.
Yeah, of the...
60 Amsterdam.
We're trying to get back to this, to that direct communication while utilizing a massive amount of technology.
Well, we hit our 30-minute mark. That's what we're supposed to do. It's been a great 4 days for those of you who've been responding and talking to us on Twitter and seeing the stuff we've been showing and watching the videos. There are more coming out through the week. For AV Nation, Mr. Harry Mead, Matt Scott, our founder and presidente, Mr. Tim Albright. For Brian what's his last name? I completely blanked. Brian McKinney. Sorry, Brian. Sure. Brian McKinney, who has hauled cameras left and right, as has Mr. Mead. And done stuff for everyone back home who's been helping us post stuff. Thank you so much. To Adrian Cottrell from Daily Do, who has been our cheerleader supporter. To Clive here from AV Magazine for giving us the space and also being a cheerleader and mentor of many my sense. From ISE 2016, we want to say thank you for watching, and we look forward to speaking to all of you again very soon.